Welcome back. You're still watching Newsfeed PM, the late edition. So we take a look at this story now. So an investigation has been launched after the shocking revelations that Mpumalanga Education spent 2 million rand to buy 22 laptops. This was confirmed by the province's education MEC, who was responding to questions from EFF in the provincial legislature. Now, this has caused widespread outrage with calls for accountability and transparency. But we get reaction, of course, in the position of the Democratic Alliance in the province. And for that, we are joined by Annerie Weber, who is DA member of Mpumalanga Legislature. Annerie, good evening to you, and thank you so much for making time for us during this long weekend. I'm wondering the sort of conversations that the DA is having just internally when you look at how this matter can and should be dealt with. 22 laptops for 2 million rand. If you do the mathematics, that would be what? Close to 90,000 rand for a laptop. That's a very costly laptop.
Yes, it was shocking when the news broke. It's 91,480 rand per laptop. So this is really a shocking state of event, if you can call it that. I went a little bit and did some investigation into what is expected from the department, because they made clear that this is for the education management information system. That's what they need it for, and that is the system all the education stuff is on, as well as for the information communications technology. So looking at what the need is for that, I think the first thing that we have to note is that these computers obviously were outdated, so they had to buy new ones. It's important to note that it's not a new program that they have to buy. The program is there, it's existing, they're using it. So when you buy new computers, you transfer your program over, and then, you move on. The second thing is to note that all of the information is not stored on the computers, it's actually stored on a server. So going through this, the estimate will be that for what the need is that the education said in all our press releases, I don't know if there's time to read it, but the responsibility of managing Office 365 accounts, supporting schools, districts and circles, troubleshooting, resetting user passwords, assisting users with email connectivity, etc. A good 8 gig RAM from Dell between 10 to 15,000 might have been a better option. It seems like the department went to buy a Polo, which they needed, but they actually bought a Rolls-Royce. So this is an exuberant amount of money. It's a waste of expenditure. And in a province where we have more than 1,700 vacant positions, and there's no money to fill these positions, it is not acceptable to spend 2 million rand on laptops.
But and I think this is important for us to clarify, because I actually had to do a search as well to see, all right, so if we're spending about 91,000 rand on a laptop, what is it? A Dell XPS 16S, that's the model. And I did a quick search. So, on various platforms, it is actually charged at 91,000 rand. So the issue isn't necessarily that there was an inflating of prices during that procurement process.
Yes, you're right. That is not the question. The question is the Dell XPS 16 is going for that price. The question is, does the department need that specific? It is a high-tech computer that writes in Java and in all these kind of languages, computer languages that your chemical engineers will use. It's a very high-tech kind of computer that very I don't want to say important people, but high-tech people needs to use. If you look at what the department needs it for, it's way too qualified, if you can call it. It's too high-tech for the need. So it's not about the 91,000 for the computer. That's true. That's the department actually really need. That specific computer.
So what are you getting back? And of course, I must say that our team did reach out to the Premier's office and provincial government in Mpumalanga to try and get a perspective. And we were told that they would not be speaking until the investigations into the matter had been concluded. And so I'm keen to hear, just from the conversations that are taking place inside legislature, with the Department of Education in the province, right, around, you know, what needs to be done? Is it being raised? How soon is it going to be handled? And what is the best way to deal with the matter moving forward?
Well, unfortunately, one cannot do much while there's an investigation. So we do welcome that Premier Ndlovu did decide to do an investigation, but we would ask of him to do it as soon as possible. And there's a couple of things that needs to be part of the investigation. I think the first thing is that it's from an independent investigators, that it's not from the department, but actually from outside. The second thing is to look if it was CETA certified, because part of the agreement with this is that we, with the government, have, good prices, not exuberant prices.
Yeah.
So that needs to be part of the investigation, but it needs to happen ASAP so that we can move forward, because one can only discuss the consequences. And I think there must be consequences with people that made this decision, and if it was a wrong decision and the department doesn't need that level of computers. The thing is, it's about budgeting and prioritizing. And if you look at a province where there's so much need for more schools and more learners and more teachers, it doesn't make sense that you didn't prioritize the learners first. And I think that is where this whole thing comes in, and where the animosity and the uncomfortableness is from, is that unfortunately the learners again are not first. And so we definitely would like all of this to happen ASAP so that there will be a consequence management. I understand probably that one might not be able to give it back and replace it with something else, but yeah, we will have to look at a very good solution after the investigation.
Yeah.
Let's first see what the investigation comes up with.
Just talk to me, if you will, and I think this is also helpful for the benefit of the viewer to understand, I suppose, the role of CETA also in procuring IT equipment for, state bodies, right? I mean, this is something that was raised by the MEC, saying that encouraging that IT procurement be to take place through CETA. So did that not happen in this case? And talk to me about the role of CETA, why that is such an important point.
All right. A couple of years ago, it became clear that the government was buying wrong brands or wrong names, or fake names is the better word, of equipment. So CETA came into place where, with the government, you need to certify what you buy from them. Now, all these companies like Dell and all of them are registered with CETA, but that still doesn't mean because you buy a Dell that computer that you bought is actually registered with CETA. You actually have to go and register it. And there's a memorandum of agreement where it says that the CETA will try their best to do it as cost effective as they can from the government to buy from. So number one, they need to certify it there. That is the first problem we have, is when this came out, there was a secrecy, there was no transparency knowing if they did it through CETA. Now, CETA is important because you buy good equipment. Yep. It is the original equipment that you buy, that Dell actually buys from a company that makes it, and they put their name to it, so that we ensure that we don't buy fake or weak equipment for our government institutions. So CETA is very, very important for government, especially to buying this equipment from, yes.
Yeah, okay. So any sort of action that we will see being taken by the Democratic Alliance in the province?
Well, I think the first thing is we will try and push the Premier for swift action and try and put a time limit to the investigation on why this has happened. And then, like I say, after the outcome of this, but we will probably ask to write, well, I don't know, you can't tell the investigators what to look for, but we will ask him to look into CETA, and we will ask him to look into what the real need is and what the real computers will be for that, and not necessarily 91,000 Rand computer, but the 10 or 12,000 Rand computer. And then from there, we will take it further and make a decision. But it does depend on the outcome of the investigation.
Yeah, very interesting. Annerie, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Annerie Weber there is a DA member in the legislature in Mpumalanga.